Hello, everyone. I'm John Higgins, contributing writer to Film and TV Now, and I'm also the curator of the YouTube channel John Higgins Film Review. And I would like to welcome filmmakers Scott Bateman and Louis A. Ferrara, who are the directors and producers of probably one of the most spaced out movies I have ever seen in my life. I mean, I think, even Paul and Bauman probably never experienced a Stargate like this. And you guys will, when we're here to talk about 5,000 Space Aliens, which is what I would describe it as is an animated concept feature, which is exactly what it is on the tin. And it's out on digital download worldwide from the 21st of November. I think we're just going to have to go into it. Warm welcome to you guys.
Hey, how's it going, John?
Peace. We come in peace, John. We come in peace.
Yes, definitely. So I can't really. The wonderful thing about this is probably spoiler free as a film you can ever get, because the point is you'll be more like transformed rather than spoiled, really. So let's talk a little bit about what was the startup point for this film.
Well, hi, I'm Scott. I'm the director. Lucas is the producer. I got this started a few years ago. I just wanted to figure out. I mean, I'd made a couple of feature films already, and I just wanted, and it was like live action with a little bit of animation. And I just wanted to figure out a way I could make a movie for like almost no money, because I had almost no money at that point. And so I just wanted to make something I could sit at home and make animation based on like found footage and stuff I found on the internet. And I really liked this rhythm I discovered of like one shot per second. And so you get 5,000 little animated 1 second films, basically right in a row. And it's kind of a roller coaster ride. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great film to watch with your friends.
Mm-hmm. So I was reading a bit of your background, and I can't believe this, but believe me, this is most unusual. So I understand that you won 100,000 on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you were
Yes.
also a one-day Jeopardy champion. Now, we
Yes.
normally most people are like, okay, well, we have to go to like backers and financiers, but you kind of sort of asked the audience. I'm not sure if you asked the audience for the 50-50, but looks like you did 100%. So tell us about that experience, and how have you, in terms of the money that you got from that, I mean, how have you used it, and what's the game plan?
Well, the joke I like to make is that, I won $100,000 on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which means I only wanted to be 1/10 of a millionaire. But yeah, I've always been like into trivia and stuff like that. And so I just got on those game shows somehow and did okay. And both those days in studios were a lot of fun. They just make it really easy and fun for the person. And I was able to use some of that money from both shows to make earlier films, which was fantastic. And I didn't have to work. I could kind of make what I wanted to make and not worry about what other people who put in money wanted me to make.
So you're a producer director team. I mean, how do you dovetail your talents, not just with this film, but when you're collaborating? Do you feel are your key strengths?
Oh, go Lucas.
Wow, it depends on the project, but this particular project is allowing the creative to do his thing. John, let's remember, this is a feature film. It's about 86, what is it, 86, 89 minutes?
86.
86 minutes. It was written by Scott, directed by Scott. The animation was by Scott. The music was by Scott. This is 100% Scott. This is a feature film done entirely by one human being from start to finish. When I came across this came across my desk in 2020 when we were all in lockdown because of COVID. This movie is a byproduct of COVID. One man's mind creating an amazing piece of art. So, long story short, John, in March of 2020, when the world got into shutdown, I went to crowdfunding pages to see how I can help How can I make a difference? And sure enough, there were young filmmakers, predominantly young filmmakers, looking for money for their movie projects, theater projects, creative. I was attracted to creative stuff. And lo and behold, in about August of 2020, who do I come across but this gentleman right here, Scott Bateman, who had this unique animation concept. So I hitched a ride, and I've been with Scott since August of 2020, and it's been a climb since.
Oh it has. Lucas came aboard once the film was basically done. He just loved what he saw and just kind of let me finish it the way I saw fit, which is fantastic. But all you could want from a producer, really. And then we have just been it's been the hard work has been to just get it out into the world, and we are just on the verge of that now with this digital and home video release coming next month. Very exciting.
So
Yes.
let's talk about your influences. I mean, just before we came on, we were talking about Monty Python. I mean, I want to talk to you about what a profound effect Monty Python had on you as a creative and a filmmaker. What was it about the show? Because it's a British show. Because I think I understand all this is British influence. I mean, what is it about British culture and British creativity and filmmaking that you find so stimulating and appreciative?
I think part of with Monty Python is I think I kind of came across it at the right age to really appreciate the crazy humor that they were doing. Just nothing was sacred. And as like a teenager when I came across Monty Python, it was airing on public television here for a long time. And yeah, so it just became just a fanatic for the show. And I just love it. And I love it still. And there's a lot of great British humor that I love. It's just the dry wit, but also the complete silliness of it as well. It's very different than we get here in America, and I'm just a big fan.
And the nuttiness, UK British humor. Some I don't know if it would pass muster these days, but irreverent is his word.
Irreverent, yeah.
Yeah, I think also as well, Monty Python. I mean, I don't know if you've heard that John Cleese is planning to do some more Fawlty Towers. He's been writing it with his daughter, and there's a debate. So it's they were planning to do it, and he was planning to do it in a different place because, as Cleese is probably one of our biggest expatriates, because he feels now with woke in the UK, certainly there's a cancel culture going on at the moment, which it's very difficult to even define anything in the UK. I mean, people like Ricky Gervais, of course, and Piers Morgan, for example, are commentating on the fact that it's gone a bit crazy. So I think it's unusual now because certain words expressed by certain characters in Fawlty Towers back in the 70s, they're doing things like they're actually censoring certain songs. So Oliver's Army by Elvis Costello has one word in it, but the radio stations have taken it out, even though we know it's the track. So I've got to ask you about the soundtrack now, because as Lucas told me, it's like you were responsible for that. I mean, tell us about the instruments you used. Tell us about what was your, when you were, as somebody who also, you were obviously your own employee, I suppose. You're doing it. Tell us a bit about what were your musical influences, and because it's a very interesting. I think it's an interesting electronic soundtrack that I kind of remember from things like watching John Carpenter or Tangerine Dream in the 80s. So, I remember.
That's high praise.
Yeah, 40 years ago, I remember watching The Codename The Soldier, which was The Soldier in the US. And I remember the music coming out and belting out. So the soundtrack you've got for this one actually is a bit like Koyaanisqatsi, which is another film we were just talking about, this kind of life out of balancing. I mean, what did you come to? What decisions did you make in that area?
Well, it's funny you mentioned John Carpenter. He's a big influence on this, I believe. He just not just the fact of the music itself, but a big fan of Assault on Precinct 13. That soundtrack is amazing. But just the fact that he knew what he wanted, and rather than hire someone else to do it, he just I'll just do it. And I was kind of in the same position myself, where I was trying to make a film cheaply, and I needed music, so I just ended up, well, I know what I want, and I have a little mini Moog thing, and I've got GarageBand, so I'm just going to make this soundtrack. And kind of the influences on it, I mean, a little bit of John Carpenter, more like the idea of it, but like krautrock from the 70s, especially Noi, stuff like Stereolab. Philip Glass actually a big influence on this. As you mentioned, Koyaanisqatsi, especially that last track with the organ, is a very much based on my love of Philip Glass. There's some Steve Reich and stuff in there too. And also the drums. A lot of the drums come from the drum sound that I wanted. Kind of comes from, like, might be a little cheesy, but Fatboy Slim, the '90s electronica stuff that I also kind of like.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the imagery, because it comes, I mean, as people will discover, and anybody who has discovered, it comes to you a thousandfold. And in all fairness, within about 10 minutes, you're like suddenly realizing, okay, this is, we're in for the long haul here. Let's just, and so there's all, I mean, I just saw all manner of people and, images in various styles. I mean, what's the challenge in actually securing the actual imagery from that? Because, today it's like, if you go on, there's Getty Images and Alamy and all these other sites that have, like, you have to pay like a fee to actually get copyright. So what were the challenges in securing the imagery?
Well, a great deal of it is actually public domain. There's that great site, archive.org, and the video archive there, the Prelinger archives, a lot of public domain, old home movies and things like that from, like, they date back all the way to the 1920s, which I didn't even know there were home movies that old. But there's no copyright on that stuff, and so I use a lot of things like it was pretty sure I'd be safe to use. And there are a few things in there that might have copyright on them, but we kind of just did it with the idea of fair use and parody, and lawyers have told us that's okay. Well, that's probably okay. So basically, when you're using found footage and found photographs and things, the challenge is to find enough material for a 90-minute movie.
Mm-hmm. And of course, editing this film together, because you although on the one hand it's quite simple, you're just putting things together which are images in different ways, but how challenging was it to edit?
Editing for me is always the fun part of making a film. And so, you just look for, like, bits of footage that, where somebody's reacting to something that just happened, maybe, or looks like they're reacting to something, but the footage itself is just its own thing. But when you start putting it with other things, it looks like things are reacting to each other. And then you also start to group, like, types of gestures together or types of movements together, and colors, textures, big into textures in this film too. It's really fun to play with the footage and see, like, how each piece plays with the next piece and the previous piece.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense at all, I don't know. But
so I mean, sorry, yes, go on, Lucas, sorry.
It works, it flows,
it does flow, yes. And it's I'm really pleased that it did so well.
The thread is the amazing music.
Yes.
So as you're enjoying the music, then you're being hit with all these images. And John, it's such an interesting film. Every time you see it, you experience it differently, because there's so many images. It's not possible to process every single thing that's happening. So it's a challenging film in that it compels your attention, and you have to watch it a few times. So John, you're gonna need to watch it. Get your aspirin bottle ready, and let's go.
Okay.
It does encourage repeat viewings, which is something I like to do with my films as well. Always put a lot of stuff in there for people to see in future viewings and that they missed. And this was the king of that kind of movie. Yeah. So,
okay.
John, you know what I'd like to say, and this is, that Scott, this is in honor of my friend Scott. If you're looking for, talking fish and dancing turtles, this is not the movie for you. This is an adult geared piece of art that will challenge you intellectually because you're trying to interpret everything that's happening, and everybody experiences the movie differently. So it's a beautiful thing. Two people, you're sitting there with your partner, they're going to experience it differently than you are. There's no dialogue, so it's dialogue free. It's a completely different film. And if I may, people have been calling it. The reviews have been outstanding, John. I mean, one of a kind, animated oddity, otherworldly, mesmerizing, cutting edge, artistically daring.
Mm-hmm.
Roller coaster experience. That was a good one.
Yeah. I've got to talk about, because obviously after your mind trip here, I mean, what are you keen to explore in your future work?
I just finished a short film that I made with artificial intelligence. The art and the script was written with Chat GPT and stuff. And when I started it last year, it was the AI art stuff was just goofy and silly. It was like giving people 3 arms and 18 fingers and stuff like that. And then by the time I finished it, it was suddenly this thing that was going to take everybody's job. So, but I made it in this spirit of parody and fun, with the old style of bad AI. And I hope people will take it for that, and not that I'm trying to steal people's intellectual property or jobs. It was just a goof. And it's getting out there to film festivals. It world premieres in December. So we'll see how it goes from there.
I'm going to wrap it up now, but I've got one final question for you both. What are you most proud of about this film?
Honestly, I look back at like the first few months of making that film, and I'm just surprised I was so certain that this was going to be something that people would want to watch. It's such an outlandish idea for a movie. There's never been anything like it. I don't know why I thought this was going to work, and luckily it did. So I'm just really amazed at myself for having done the whole thing. Basically, I think it's the best thing I've ever made. I'm very pleased with it.
Mm-hmm.
John, how many filmmakers can say to you that they are breaking boundaries? Well, I'm happy to tell you this film is exploring new worlds, so to speak. So it's a different piece of art. If you look at it as a unique piece of art, who knows what the future has in store, but we're excited about 5,000 Aliens, and we hope you all join us for the ride, November 21, Amazon, Apple, every world, you'll find us. We're there.
It's art, but it's a fun ride for people. Even though it's art makes it sound like, oh, this is going to be like homework. It's a lot of fun. It's just a fun thing to just let happen to you.
All right. Well, Scott, Lucas, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad that you've enlightened me with what this film's about. I mean, as I say, I think what I'm going to have to do is get a few beers in and watch it again with some mates, and then we'll probably do it together. So on that note, thank you very much for reflecting on 5,000 Space Aliens. As mentioned, it's out in November on digital download worldwide. Just be prepared to watch this movie. As I say, you'll probably be polarized and spaced out by the end of it. I mean, it is honestly literally that 86 minutes of montage concept belief. I mean, maybe subliminal messages. Maybe there's maybe if you play it in reverse, it will say Elvis and John Lennon are coming back to do a duet or something. I don't know. But on that note, thank you very much, guys. And
thank you so much. It was fun.
We'll see you later. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.